Today we're talking about a tournament that's one of the most prestigious in tennis history, but has slowly become, well, at least in my opinion, kind of irrelevant. That's right, we're going to be talking about the Davis Cup, or once the World Cup of Tennis, and how I think it's facing some serious questions about its place in the sport. But let's take it all the way back. To understand where we're at now, we've got to know where the Davis Cup started. This is the story of the tournament that put team tennis on the map. The Davis Cup was born in 1900, and you know what? It had a pretty humble beginning. It was created by a Harvard student named Dwight F. Davis, who was a tennis player himself. Davis came up with the idea of a global competition between countries, and he designed the tournament format and even helped finance the first event. It started with just two teams, the United States and Great Britain. Back then, it was more like an exhibition match than the prestigious event we know today. And the US won in the first match, and the tournament quickly gained traction. Davis wanted to see it become something bigger, and in just a few years, other nations began to take notice. Now by the 1920s, the Davis Cup was no longer just an American versus British rivalry. It had spread internationally, and soon France, Australia, and other countries were joining in. It wasn't just a match anymore, it was becoming a battle for national pride.
Now really quick before we keep going, I just want to ask you all to subscribe. It seems that only 2.3% of you that watch my videos are subscribed. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and maybe the bell notification if you want to keep up to date with all things Hot Take Tennis.
Moving on to the 1930s, things got really serious. The tournament had gained massive popularity, and this was the era when team tennis really began to shine. There were epic rivalries, particularly between the United States and Australia. In fact, Australia dominated this era, winning most of the titles through the 50s and 60s, with legends like Rod Laver and Ken Rosewall playing for their country. During this time, the tournament was not only a test of skill, but also a symbol of national pride. It was a big deal, and fans went wild over the competition. It was a time when nations rallied behind their players, and the Davis Cup was definitely the center of attention. Then the 70s and 80s come. The competition got a whole lot fiercer. The United States had an iron grip on the Davis Cup, but they weren't alone in their dominance. Australia, the Soviet Union, and Sweden. Who can forget Bjorn Borg and Stefan Edberg? These players made the Davis Cup the ultimate showcase for the best tennis talent in the world. And during this period, we saw the advent of more intense rivalries and the rise of new powerhouses like Sweden, who dominated the 80s and early 90s. The 80s and 90s really represent the golden years for top players showing up, putting it all on the line for their countries, and making the tournament feel like a major championship event. Some may even say a World Cup. Then comes the 2000s. And that's when things started to change. Players started prioritizing individual success more than team events. We saw it in the early 2000s. Many of the top names like Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic began skipping the event. Sure, there were still great performances by Roger and Rafa in the tournament, but as tennis became more about the slams, the Davis Cup's luster began to fade. And let's not forget that this was the era of globalization in tennis. As the ATP and WTA tours expanded, there was just too much tennis to fit in everything. Players were overwhelmed with commitments, and the Davis Cup just wasn't the priority it used to be. Then came 2019. And we saw the biggest change yet to the Davis Cup format. The tournament ditched the traditional home and away ties in favor of a week-long event held at a single location. The idea? To make it feel like a mini World Cup for tennis. And here's the thing. This change was controversial. On one hand, it created a more efficient event with everything wrapped up in one location. But on the other hand, it took away the tradition and the magic of the home and away matchups that made the event so special. And now, the Davis Cup just doesn't feel as prestigious as it used to. The players aren't invested, and fans aren't either. So here's what I think. I think the Davis Cup is dead.
Stop! He's already dead!
Yeah, I said it. It's become completely irrelevant in the tennis world, and most fans don't even care anymore. I'll ask you right now. Could you name the past 3 Davis Cup winners? And if you can, could you name the past 5? Probably not. But could you name the past 3 US Open winners? I know I can, on both the men's and the women's side. And think about it. The tournament has lost its magic. It's not just about format changers. Players skip it, fans don't tune in, and the excitement is just gone. Now, I'm not just here to complain about the Davis Cup. I have some ideas on how to fix it. Because truthfully, I don't want the Davis Cup to die. I just think it needs to evolve. As tennis has been evolving quite significantly the past 5 years. So here's how I'd save it. First up, the schedule. The Davis Cup happens every single year, and I'd say that's part of the problem. The World Cup, for example, every 4 years. What about the Olympics? Every 4 years. I don't think the Davis Cup has the space to feel special if it's held every year. Now, if it were held every 2 years, I think we'd have more time to build excitement and anticipation for it. Fans would care more because it wouldn't feel like an annual obligation. And players may feel more obligated to play because they don't have to fit it into their schedule each year and can put away time every other year. Next, let's make this thing more exciting by bringing in mixed gender teams. Imagine Daniil Medvedev and Aryna Sabalenka teaming up to play for Russia, or Taylor Fritz and Coco Gauff in an epic mixed doubles match. A team made up of men and women would be revolutionary in tennis. Not only would it increase viewership, but it'd also diversify the competition and bring a whole new level of excitement. You could do something similar to what the United Cup does. Have a men's singles match, a women's singles match, and a mixed doubles match. Hell, you could even combine the 2 events. I don't think the tennis schedule needs any more inflation. Why not take the United Cup and take the Davis Cup and just combine the 2? We don't need both. I just think it's such a great format for the country versus country dualities. And let's talk about the location. The Davis Cup is currently held in multiple cities across the world, which I think dilutes the experience. What if we centralize the entire tournament in one major city every 2 years? It could be a festival of tennis. Think of it like the World Cup for tennis. The excitement would be insane if everyone knew it would be in one iconic city each time, and fans from all over the world would travel to attend. Similar to what the Nitto ATP Finals does. So what do you think? Is the Davis Cup officially dead, or can it be saved? And what do you think of my recommendation? And does the Davis Cup even have a future in tennis? What if we mix the genders? Is that something you'd enjoy? Drop your hot takes in the comments and smash that like button if you think tennis needs some changes. And make sure to subscribe, especially if you want to keep up with all things Hot Take Tennis.